It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group. And we're back. Say hello and introduce yourselves, podcasters, so that I don't have to.
Hi, I'm Els Tahura.
Hi, I'm Chad Jetner.
I'm Peter Lawrence.
And I'm Kyle Bacher. And today we're going to dig into consulting. What is it? Why is it? Why do people do it? How do we do it? All about it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the awesome, the wonderful. So we're going to dig into it. First of all, what's the difference between consulting and contracting? And I did some research on this, but I want to hear what you have to say about it first.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Oh,
My gut says one's a job and one's a career.
Oh, wow.
I like
That's
that.
a good answer.
Yeah.
I was going to say, tactically, it's, if you're a contractor, you are filling your head count. You're filling a seat. You're in a role to do whatever, right? Consultants consult. Not that a contractor couldn't, but consultants are brought in for our expertise, our experience, and our opinions. Contractors are brought in because they know React, or because they know Java, or because they have a specific skill set, and the client has a specific need for that specific skill set. How's that?
You guys are doing awesome.
I'm curious,
No?
Kyle, what did your research say?
Okay. So the several articles I skimmed said that consulting is the thought leadership, the experience, the stuff that Chad was saying. It's doing that. You're someone that they will rely on to give them guidance because you have the experience and all that. Contractors do the work. So it's like consultants don't actually go in and do the work, but contractors, that was like the big difference. But I like Peter's explanation of job versus career. And, we do both. We consult, and if contracting is just the one that does the work, then we are also contractors, I guess. But you can be a contractor and not be a consultant. And you can be a consultant and not be a contractor, or you can kind of be both.
Yeah. And my career has been mostly both, right? Going in, providing thought leadership, but also having to roll up my sleeves and do some work, and maybe it's general house builder, might have to put some sheetrock on or nail a 2x4 every now and then, or a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing to, I totally agree, Peter, that I like your definition a lot. But as we're talking about it, it's not as though it's a clear line in the sand.
Right.
They're roles that I would imagine each of us have played, even if we've been deployed under the name of consultant. Like we've been both, for sure.
Very much so.
So we're all either consultants or did consulting for a long time. In my case, I'm a consultant for my own company right now.
You sure you're not
and
a contractor?
for my own company. Yeah. I'm a FTE. I'm a full-time employee. But then you're all full-time employees as well. So what do you like about consulting? And what drove you to this part of tech?
A
Chad has
deep
a
desire to change.
There you
Go ahead, Al.
I was going to say Chad has a far off look. So while he's processing, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that is appealing about consulting that draws a lot of people in, including myself, has been the opportunity to see a lot of different environments, be able to work with a lot of different technologies in a lot of different business contexts. That variety is exciting, and it keeps you interested in your job. So that was one of the main draws for me, and it's also kept me here as well. But Chad, what do you think?
Well, I was actually asked by one of the younger fellows on the team about, a lot of things. And one of the great things, I sell consulting to other folks a lot. Well, as a career choice. And one of the best parts of what we do is that we really do get exposed to, so many problems, so many clients, so many different ways of doing things that it's like, what is it, Katamari Daikai? Like, you gain more experience and you're more valuable as a consultant the longer you've done consulting specifically, as opposed to really just being a FTE at one joint for 15 years. That's what I love about it, is that, like, you do get to see multiple problems, multiple technology stacks, multiple ways of doing things, and even better, like, multiple ways that you absolutely shouldn't do things. You get to bring that experience to your next gig. Yeah.
Or similarly, like, here are the things that actually matter, or here are the things that you keep seeing people get caught up on at clients. Like, okay, no, that is not going to keep you up at night. This other thing's going to keep you up at night.
Yeah, and you bring a certain amount of credibility with that experience. That experience is your credibility in a lot of cases. And what's cool about consulting is, it's kind of a personal journey of, making your skills better. Like, it's gaining skills and experience as you go through this adventure. And I saw that as my career advancement, is learning more, being able to do more types of projects and doing better and things like that. But the likelihood that you're going to be working on more stuff, more different applications and platforms and tools and things like that. And then, of course, the dreaded, we need you to come in and fix this Access database that's running on Windows 95. Like, sometimes that's not
happens. That's not really consulting anymore either. Like, I would never. I would
so
hope that
why isn't that consulting, Chad?
Because it's a tactical thing. Like, if the job is, this is broken, this technology on this stack is broken in this way, we need you to fix it and get out. I consider that you need a contractor to come in and fix that. You're not designing anything new. You're not given the opportunity to say, hey, maybe Access on Windows 95 isn't the best way to run this critical portion of your business.
Right.
Or, and like, the expectation there isn't that I'll be able to go in, fix the problem, and then recommend a path forward for something new and something better. It's, the phrasing of that specific situation.
Yeah. As a consultant, the solution is the getting up to date with all your stuff, using the recent better platforms and ways of doing things, and not fixing the existing old thing.
Or at least not keeping the lights on. Because I think one of the distinctions for me, even if I'm doing, like, quote unquote contractor work, is what consultants ideally should do is leave their client in a better spot than they can. Like, it's the campsite rule.
Yeah.
If we're doing pure contracting, you don't necessarily need to do that. It's just, okay, you tell me what to do, I take orders, I do the thing, and then I'm done whenever you terminate my contract.
Yeah.
With consulting, even if we're doing like, okay, this Access database is garbage, I'll keep the lights on, but under the contingency that I can help map out a migration plan, or I can we can turn off certain features of this. Like how do I put the client or help put the client in a better spot than when I came in? That's for me is what is unique about consulting.
Yeah. And that's the trick is that's in my measure of success is, are they using it and benefiting from it? Are they are they using the stuff I did for them, and is it making their job easier, better, whatever, giving them more information to make decisions on, or so it's to me, that's like to swoop in and get the job done and be hero for a day and then fly off to my next conquest or whatever it is, my next project. I liked that. And I like being thrown into things. I complain a lot about it when it happens, but I secretly that's kind of where I thrive is, hey, here's a problem that we don't know how to solve. Here we need an answer to something and we don't know how to get it. Then it's like all the energy comes from that. I like new situations. And so going from, one type of industry, going from healthcare over to education, things like that, you get this, your consulting journey takes you through all these different industries. And working with all these different types of people in all these different departments. And you really get a sense of what the world is like, what businesses are like, what those industries are like and their challenges. Man, I learned a lot doing healthcare stuff, learning a lot about the people that work in healthcare and the way things are done. And it was enlightening. But I'm not going to share any of that knowledge right now.
So
I will say this, nurses have zero time. They are busy from when they walk on site. They are going. I have a ton of respect for nurses now. I had some before, but I really, for what they do. So
I'm curious, Peter, we're talking about, cool, we get to work with new technology and we get a lot of variety and we aren't forced to turn a server on and off at 1 a.m. Why isn't everybody in consulting?
Because you have to like onboarding at different companies. You have to like giving up your hard-earned position and coming in and earning it again and again and again. You don't have to love it, but you do have to like it a little bit. There's a lot of times where you can, come into an organization and, really hit the ground, get all the things done and leave. And it's like, oh, well, now I got to go do that all over again. And the technology is great, and staying on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge, the whatever edge you happen to be on is wonderful, but it comes at a cost too, right? You can't just sit back and say, well, I'm going to do COBOL because that's what I got, and I don't have to learn anything else. You have to keep honing your skills, and you have to be a lifelong learner. I know we've talked about that with recruiting and stuff. It's like lifelong learner, which sounds really cool, but it can be hard sometimes, right? Just having to keep abreast of everything. Like You can't just let it wash over you. You have to actually read the articles and read the headlines and stuff like that. You can't just say, oh, I hear AWS is cool, but I don't really know anything about it. And I don't care because I don't have to because I do COBOL.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
There's that fear of, like, I'm a cassette tape and working in cassette tape world, and all of a sudden CDs come along, and albums will always be around. The sound, there's the hobbyists and the aficionados and stuff. I don't think there's people that are like, well, cassettes just sound better. So it sounds like I'm getting off topic, but I had a major change happen with the platform I worked with that took away a GUI interface that allowed me to do a ton of stuff, like really cool dashboards, integrations, all of these things that I could do, and I used it all the time. And then they said, well, we're not going to have that part of this anymore. And I was like, is this my career ending? Like, is there other stuff I can do with this platform? And yeah, so you have to stretch and take on new things and sometimes go outside your comfort zone. You got to keep up. You got to have something that people need. You need to be able to do something that people need someone to do. So there's always that, I hope I'm backing the right horse. I hope I don't throw too much of myself into Silverlight and ActiveX, and if those go away, oh boy, howdy, I'm in trouble.
Another thing to keep in mind is that, the technical part you have to keep up to date on too, but you also have to keep up on interpersonal skills and learning people and meeting new people and learning their likes and dislikes, right? One boss is this way, another boss is totally the opposite. Both are fine, but you have to approach, explaining the problem to them differently, or, putting a lot of yourself out there, which can be a challenge too.
Yeah, well, I guess when you think of the old school historical stereotype of IT, where just, no, I'm going to be in my room and no one bug me. I don't need to talk to anyone. Like, you cannot be that insulated as a consultant. You have to be comfortable with, like you said, Peter, like interfacing with other people and just having strong social skills. Because there's no way to do consulting without that.
You're going to meetings.
It's certainly harder if you don't have that, and if you are incredibly nervous about speaking up in a meeting, if you're nervous about saying something that's not popular, like all of those situations, all of those social situations, like in middle school, that scared the crap out of you, are the exact same things that we do a lot of as consultants. And so, if those things terrify you, there's probably still a role for you, but you'll be challenged quite a bit. I mean, that's what I find, is that I'm challenged frequently.
Yeah, and I've had this happen where it's, hey, we want you to come and talk about this to our board of directors at this giant place, and you're just like,
no pressure.
But you do it, you do your best at it, and you have good intentions and humility. And, if you go in there and try to show a bunch of swagger, it's not going to go well for you. It's just be honest, and speak up, be honest, and that'll take you a long way.
I'm glad you brought up humility, though, Kyle, because I think that's certainly a misconception that I've run into just when doing interviews and things, when maybe a client hasn't had a great experience with a consultant, or we're interviewing people to come join SDG, is that consulting is only about being a hero and all about being the hero who saves the day. And Kyle, you'd mentioned like part of what is fun is being able to come in and save the day. And that's totally true. But consulting also requires relinquishing a certain amount of control. That I'll be going to a client, I can't necessarily dictate what tech I'm working with or how long I'll be there, or the details of here's what my day is going to look like. And that's okay, because it's all about, okay, how can I serve the client? Ultimately,
Right.
hopefully being helpful. And maybe there are moments there where I can like be proud of the work that I've done and feel like I could step in and save the day. But that shouldn't be the goal going in. Is I'm here to have the spotlight on me, and then go away and everyone will be sad that I'm gone. Like it's this balance between like you have a lot of knowledge and you want to be helpful, and you can help drive change, but you need to be humble enough to recognize that at the end of the day, it's not about you and your work. It's about where the client's at. That's hard for people. Yeah,
because you do have to have self-confidence
totally.
without having arrogance. It's like the going too far, and you kind of have to learn that. You can go into a place and, oh, I'm a consultant. I'm their expert. I'm going in to tell them what's what, and and then why aren't they listening to me? They should be listening to me. Don't they know who I am? It's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, there's just a lot of decisions you don't get to make, and you have to melt into their world,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be cool. You got to be chill. You can't bring them problems. They have problems that you are there to help them solve. You don't want to be one of those.
You can identify problems, but you cannot become one of the problems.
Right. And I would like to apologize to all my customers. For the first 5 years, I was a consultant.
I don't
Just
believe
because it takes a while to feel comfortable with it.
It's just it's the soft skills side. It's the understanding that it's different. And it's like, this is different than anything you've ever done. You can do tech full time at for a company, and you can do every part of this job. But this is all of it in one, and you're working for a customer that is paying you to be there, for every hour you're there. And that is paying for an expert. And so it's the pressure of that situation but it's like, what is an expert? Nobody can really, it's like, so to me, it's like somebody that can go in there and get the job done and give them sound direction and take things to the right places. But you're also dealing with their decision making. You can't make all the decisions. If you're a painter, you get to make a lot of decisions, like, I'm going to put this drop cloth in here and tape this to that. And
I don't even think that the folks are looking for an expert, really. They're just looking for experience. No. They want to find folks that have done this before, right? And
well, that's my version of expert.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert in Java, right? Like, I know this language, and I know
Chad, I feel betrayed.
I know. I apologize if you had higher hopes than this.
You are an expert in Java,
but like, I know the language. I know the ecosystem around it. I know the patterns, right? And I think a lot of folks just want to know that you've known the patterns and you've solved similar problems before. Like, that's the one question I get asked quite a bit, is like, have you ever done anything like this before? And I'm like, I mean, this specific problem, no. But like the tech stack behind it is almost cookie cutter at this point. And one of the things that I've been saying to younger fellas that want to be consultants is like, I mean, one, be sure like this is what you want, right?
Mm.
And then also be confident that you are ready to do this, as like your skill set is there. Because in our market in the Twin Cities, it's massive, but it's also really tiny. And so
Yeah.
if you're good, you'll be able to experience so many different environments, and you will know so many different people from so many different companies, and you'll bump into them for the next 25 years. I do this
Right.
constantly. I mean, I met SDG. We have Sean Kelly Pig. I worked with that guy 24 years ago, and I bumped into him at the office yesterday. So like, if you're confident that you're solid, you're ready for it, absolutely do it, because you get exposed to so many things. And then even if SDG doesn't end up being the place that you want to spend your career, you've got so many contacts locally that you'll be absolutely fine. You'll never have to worry about a job again. If you're not confident, well, one, you probably should be. You're probably better than you think, but also like, make sure you're there and make sure you're ready for it, and then just do it. Like, because if you're bad at what you do and you go to like 7 different places, 7 different companies, and 7 different networks are gonna be like, oh geez, Peter Lawrence, remember that guy? You're gonna run into Peter.
Maybe competency is a better word. You're competent. You definitely can get the job done. You're the right person to do it. And that's one of the tricks, is knowing when you're absolutely not the right person to do stuff, but there are other people that can do things. That's one of the great things about working for SDG, is I had other people that could do things I couldn't do. And so it's like, okay, I can get us this far, and then we can bring in this person to do this piece. Because if you want me to write, a bunch of JavaScript, give me a month, or I can have someone that does JavaScript like day in, day out and has done it for years to come in and do it in 2 hours. It's like you want that competency. And but it doesn't mean that you know everything. Walking in, that's one of the early mistakes I had made, is the idea that I had to be the guy with the answer for everything. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And it's not necessary. I learned to say, I don't know, but I will find out. And I learned to say, no, the thing you're describing and the thing you want this system to do doesn't do that the way you want it to do that. So it's going to require more. It's going to require customization. It's going to but early on, since I was a configurator, I set things up and all that. You're at the mercy of a tool, and thinking that all the shortcomings of the tool, were like, made me feel guilty. It's like, well, it doesn't do that, so I have to go make it do that somehow. And you're just beating your head against the wall and stuff. And it's like, well, you got to give things a good try, but at some point you have to go, okay, I'm going to be honest and say that this isn't going to happen this way. And that's the kind of challenges you deal with. And the people side of it, to be able to speak to people, have those soft skills. Customer service is a huge part of it. Like, I think my best training for consulting was waiting tables. The tech stuff helped, but that customer service, and I love providing good customer service. That really drives me. I want people to get what they want and to be happy and to have a good experience. And so that's a part of consulting that I really liked, is I could still be in a customer service role, And my current role is a customer service role. You're all my customers. So I see everybody as being my boss. Y'all work. I work for all of you. Yeah. Just don't like start barking orders at me. And
I have demands.
Yes. Now, Chad, you made a comment of I'm not an expert, and I think basically you know enough to know how much you don't know, like how much there still is to know. And I think that's as you get older, you realize that wow, there's just so much. The older you get, the more questions you have than answers. And I think it's like that with the more experience you get, you realize there's a lot of things you don't know, especially now there's so many different products out there and cloud platforms and ways of doing things and the world changes so quickly. Like you can never be the person that knows everything.
All that aside, like that's why I keep coming back to the experience and the patterns, right?
Yeah.
This needs to talk to this. All right, there's a pattern for that. And there's probably an AWS service for that now. And there's probably 10 different ways that young folks are solving this. And there's probably 2 ways that I would solve this, right? Like that's what we're here for, is to understand patterns, to understand just flows of data, of everything, and then figure out how to represent that in a given customer's environment in a way that fits within their architectural guardrails. Like that's kind of what we do. So problem statement, technology options. Here's we do a little discovery phase and then we say, here's what we think. And did we get it right? Or are we way off base? And then we go and we build that. I don't know. What do you think, Peter?
It's always my favorite when the customer asks, have you done this before? And the answer is, well, not this, but I've built several like it and I've seen how to do it. It's like building a house, right? Every house is not the same. And if it is, it's a pretty boring subdevelopment, right? But if they're all the same, then yeah, maybe. But most houses are different. They have the doors in different spots, the windows in different spots, but they all have doors and windows. So, but yeah, it's so fun. It really is. Consulting is just a blast, but you have to be the right person to be a consultant, right? You have to not be, I got to be right about everything. You got to do my way or the highway. There's so many compromises that you have to make as a consultant that you have to be ready to do, or you cannot be in this business. You can
chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah. You're just going to have failure after failure where you tried to, do things your way and it didn't work. Not to say that you can't have success. It's just, you have to be in that right,
there's
situation.
Finesse. Yeah, there's a lot of finesse, like pushing but not pushing too hard, and accepting a way of doing something that you don't quite agree with. It's like this is what all of our research and data and all of this tells us to do, so we want to do it this way. And no, I don't really like that. Let's do it this other way. Okay, well, we tested and that other way's bad, but now that we got around this a couple times and you stuck to your guns on it, like it's your thing. This is your place. That's the other thing about consulting is it's not where you're not an employee. It's not your company. You get to walk away at the end of a project and you help build the house, and then they have to live in it. You don't have to live in it. So it's the that it's, I don't know, it's kind of nice because you can move on and start building another one. And But you do miss out. I always love hearing from people about stuff that I did that is still being used. And you don't always get that. So you do that. It's like there's this, it went well, and they were very appreciative of what I did, and very happy with our work, and then you leave, but you still wonder, like, okay, after it stood the test of time, how did it work? And to get that feedback is really, really cool. I built early on, before I was even a consultant, I was working for myself, and I built a quote form for a general contractor on his website so people could submit quotes. And I did it for him, and he's like, looks great. Thank you very much. All right. See you later. Never knew how well it did. I didn't charge a heck of a lot for it. I think I charged him $500, and like 3 years later, I ran into him, and I'm like, how's that thing working for you? And oh man, that's where all of our business comes from now.
Hmm.
I'm like, well, then can I have more money? But it made me feel great. It's like, oh, thank goodness, because I wasn't sure. I didn't hear from you. And then your imagination takes over.
Yeah, it's very much like fostering dogs. Like, you get a lot of fun helping to raise something, but at the end of the day, their permanent home is going to be somewhere else, and there's a high likelihood that you won't know how things go. So it's just, all right, how can I set people up to succeed?
Peter, what is the least favorite part of what we do every day? I'll start. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but sometimes, I mean, depending on your role, you can get incredibly busy, and there's a lot of inputs coming at you all at the same time. Like, I've gotten, since we started this podcast, what is it? Let me check.
40 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, like literally 9 text messages, 3 Slack messages, and a handful of things on Teams. All of which is like, what's the name of the movie? Everything Happening All at Once. Everything Everywhere. Like, it happens frequently that you get in this type of thing. And depending on how well you can manage that, sometimes fine. And then depending on your role too, like if I'm a Java developer on a project, I might just be able to get Java code, and I'll have to reach out once in a while to get requirements. Otherwise, I'm good. If you're in a different role, like I am, this happens, and it can be a lot. I don't know. What do you think, Peter?
I think, yeah, you're right. You have to be committed to it, right? You can't half do consulting. You can't really like, oh, I'll show up Monday through Thursday, and Fridays I'll kind of limp along or whatever. You're consulting the whole time. And it's very hard to ignore all these ways that people can reach out these days. And so I just don't, right? I don't ignore it. I put it off maybe as long as I can, but you're right. During this podcast, there's certainly things that are actively seeking my attention other than this podcast. And it's been a challenge. Always has been. Somebody from your old job reaches out to you. It might be a little different than if somebody from an old client reaches out to you, right? Mm-hmm. You feel a little bit more responsible. But what's the worst part about this job besides status reports?
Or timesheets.
Timesheets I've lived with and gotten used to. Status reports. That leaving the good ones is always hard, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that some consultants fall into the trap of staying at the good ones a little bit longer than their contract, which is fine, but you're putting on a different hat. You are putting on a different persona, so to speak. If you are an employee, all of a sudden that pager duty is yours this weekend, or something else, right? So you're giving up some things too. So it's hard.
I do not mind not being in the pager duty rotation. That is absolutely a perk. And I don't even mind all of the contact that we get constantly throughout the day. I mean, it sometimes gets a little overwhelming, and it's sometimes on me because I give out my cell phone number and my Snapchat ID and everything else. However you want to talk to me, that's, go ahead.
Oh man, Snapchat. I haven't tried that to get a hold of you lately.
Is that still a thing?
That should be how we do status reports from now on.
There you go.
Well, and even the status report is a creative outlet for me now.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I give paragraphs, short stories. There's twists, there's turns.
The ongoing saga of Chad Jutner.
You choose your own adventure.
Yeah, there's a love triangle sometimes.
They meet, they break up. Yeah. So, being overwhelmed, being available, having to be available. So you're going to get interrupted. You can't shut off notifications and hide all the time. But you do have to get work done. So sometimes you have to go into that, and talk to them and say, look, I need to put my head down for a while and just kick out this work. But the leaving a really good project, that went really well with really great people, that was important. And that's really hard. I would love to stay here and work on it. Yeah. Can we do another one? Yeah. What do you got? What's next? And you leave and it's sad. And maybe you connected with some people, you made some friends, and, a long-term project. And that's sad because it's hard to maintain relationships when you don't see people all the time. You miss those happy hours where all of the, that really important meeting you had a couple times a week during that critical part of the project when everybody needed an outlet and needed that team building event and things like that. I think I brought up happy hour before Chad did. It's amazing.
I need a bell.
Whole new world.
So let me jump in as long as we brought up happy hour. One of the, we'll call it a downside of consulting, is that you may not control your destiny, right? You may end a project before you want to end that project. You may not end that project before you want to end that project. I've always stated, and probably stated it here on the podcast before, is you're never at a client until you're seated at a desk with a computer and a badge, right? You're not there until that. And you're never done at a client until you've turned in a computer and a badge and things like that. And even then, you may get a call at the happy hour that you're on the way out. And, oh, by the way, come back Monday. We found something else for you. So that aspect of, controlling your own destiny, is a little bit different with consulting.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to take it.
Yeah. There are a few sacrifices that you end up making. Invariably, you're going to be in this position where you can't help but think about a problem, how to solve a problem, how to do something, how to, make a deadline. You take it home with you.
Right.
It's in your head and you're thinking about it and you're distracted. And so you're kind of giving away some of your your work-life balance is, gets easily out of whack, especially when you're at that last leg of the project, and then you're done, and you kind of have that sense of relief. But it's like walking into a vacuum then, and it's weird because you were in this hectic work mode, get things done mode, and then you finished, and then you don't have another gig lined up right away. So then you just go and sit and hear the crickets, and
Or the reverse, you made it to the end of your assignment, it's been super busy, and then you have to go and be super busy somewhere else, and you don't have a lull to just recharge. Like, you have to be okay
Right.
with that context switch.
Yeah, you have to be resilient and driven. And like the lifelong learning doesn't always happen within the 40 hours that you work. You're spending your own time. I spent quite a bit of time on my own, just learning about stuff, digging into, what's the latest, what's coming, trying to stay on top of things.
That might be
and that-
surprising to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I
what I
think-
like.
But I think that's worth calling out that, we've talked about consulting, but consulting can be and can look very different depending on if you're doing things independently, like basically starting up your own shop doing consulting versus working for a consulting company. And working at SDG means that I'm able to do 40 hours of client work, but I'm not responsible on top of that to go and find all my new clients and go and pitch myself at all those new clients and make sure that my clients are paying their bills. Like, we do put in extra work because we like SDG, but at the end of the day, that's still less extra time than
Yes.
we would have to put in if we were doing this
Oh.
all on our own.
Yeah, absolutely. Parting thoughts. So I'm new to consulting. I walk right through the door, never done it before. Spent 2 years learning my tech. I got some skills. I'm ready to go. I got confidence that I can get the job done. What am I in for? What's the big surprise that's going to hit me in the face as somebody new to consulting? One piece of advice. How about that?
It's not magic. It's not. You don't get a robe. You don't get a cape. You don't get anything like that. You're still coming into a place of business and helping a team, right? Sometimes you just have to grind through it, and that's okay.
I think it's going to be whatever you make of it, right? Like if you have the skill set and you want to just write code, there's going to be a spot for you to do just that, right? And influence your team, influence your project in a way that's going to help your client. And that's fine. If you want to do way more than that, the opportunity is there more for consultants than it is for full-time employees to really lead a team or start something at a client. That's also an option. So I think you'll be surprised. Like, if you come into it thinking it's going to be one thing, you're probably going to be wrong. You have options, and you're going to get out of it whatever you put into it. I don't know. What do you say, Elle?
I really liked your comment about not being an expert. So I think if you're new into consulting, 99% of the time, your client is not looking for an expert. They're looking for someone competent who is willing to figure out what the answer is. So if you're up for lots of variety, lots of new challenges, and you're willing to be communicative, you're golden.
All right. Until next time, I think we should say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.